folks, welcome to Geeked Out. You got Chandler here, and you have Megan, and we're missing Quincy. Quincy, where are you, Quincy? Quincy disappeared. Now, actually, Quincy's taking a quick break because he's actually buried getting ready for San Diego. So is Free. You know, they're both artists, so they're working on getting their stuff ready for San Diego, the monster that it is. So what that leaves you with Megan and I. Basically, you have Beauty and the Beast, which I think is appropriate. But you know what? This week also works out to be a very interesting week for us to team up on because this week, huge major announcement.
From Walking Dead.
And what was the announcement?
Today is the surprise ending of the Walking Dead comic book.
Robert Kirkman waits till the very, very last second, and he decides to announce, as he's going to tease everyone, torture everyone, that he's killing the Walking Dead series, literally. This issue that came out today in comic shops, which is this issue right here, issue 193, is the last issue of the Walking Dead comic book series. And it was a surprise announcement, and needless to say, I mean, it caught everyone off guard.
Yeah, I'm very shocked.
Yeah, and
pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, shops are caught off guard because we didn't know this was going to be the last issue. It's interesting reading some of the articles where Robert talks about how he planned this, and he did plan this, and what they did to throw retailers off was they had actually planned out subsequent issues, 194, 195, etc., and they even threw covers done by Charlie Adler. So it looked like it was going to continue.
Yeah.
And Robert pulled the wool out from under over everyone's eyes, and just he made the surprise announcement. And so, now this has no bearing. Bear in mind, this has no effect on the show, the TV show.
Yeah. Which,
if anyone knows about the TV show, it's this lady right here, because she is actually on the show. She has been a cast member for, I don't know, how long?
I started working on it last October on season 9. But
Okay.
I worked for a long time to get to that point.
Okay, so you've been working to get into it, and you are actually one of the whisperers.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm one of the whisperers.
And I'll tell you, I've seen pictures. It's amazing. You see this beautiful young lady here, scarier than hell in the pictures.
Yeah.
She has that mask on and everything. I would not want to be chased down a dark alley by her.
Even when we're unmasked, we are really filthy. It takes me weeks to get all the stuff off of me.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of you where it looks like it looks like they have stuff taped on you, and they have black makeup and stuff all over you, and all kinds. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. They put like fake dirt and stuff on us, and lard. They put lard in our hair.
Oh God.
Yeah.
See, I don't think I could just deal. I don't know if I could deal with that.
It's part of the whole experience. It's
well,
so
good.
Yeah.
That's your experience, not mine.
And then nobody really knows what I'm doing. They're like, "Why are you so dirty?
What's
Why
that?
are your fingernails
so
dirty?" After I come back.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine. But so, like I said, this surprise announcement does not affect the show. Season 10 is coming out in what?
Season 10 premieres in October of this year.
Premieres in October. I know that they've already announced that there's going to. Well, we know about the other show.
Fear the Walking Dead's the companion show.
And that's starting in season 5 or 6 or something like that?
No, it's airing right now. And they actually, so The Walking Dead's had a lot of surprises the last few weeks. So Rick left the original series midway through season 9, last season.
Uh-huh.
And he disappeared. We didn't know
now,
what
he wasn't
happened
killed.
He was not killed.
Okay.
But the other characters think he was killed. Like
okay.
Michonne, who was his wife. So we don't know what happened to him. It's very intriguing for the fans because the comics or the show has loosely followed the comics for a while because the Whisperers were in the comics a long time ago and we're just now on the show. So the fans have been predicting we're going to follow this storyline, we're going to follow these arcs. But now we kind of don't know. And so Fear the Walking Dead has been its own show for a while. It started in Mexico, and then they moved to New Mexico, and then they currently film in Texas, but I think they kind of pretend like they're somewhere else.
Okay.
But it's always been a completely different show until I think it was last season that aired, and Dwight wandered off the original show and ended up on the companion show. And then Morgan wandered off as well at the end of last season on the original show and ended up on the companion show. But so for the comic, there's been big things that have happened, and for the Walking Dead TV franchise, because as we know, Rick left midway through season 9. He was taken away in a helicopter. We didn't know what was going on, who these people were. They're not in the comic books. Well, surprise, last week on Fear the Walking Dead, the helicopters showed up that took Rick on Fear the Walking Dead.
Was he on the helicopter?
So he was not shown, but this week's episode that aired, they started to explain who these people are, and these are the people that took Rick. So Rick's probably going to show up on Fear the Walking Dead by next season.
Okay. Now I've also been hearing rumors that there's going to be another show.
So they're filming a third show, and it's going to be a female-centric show. I don't know if it'll have ties to the original show or Fear, because they have just now started casting for it. But the main characters are going to be women, and they're supposed to be younger women. So it's supposed to be about the whole adolescent part of the apocalypse and really being like on your own as a child.
So when you say younger, you're talking about teens?
Preteen to teen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're going to film that in Virginia starting, like, I think by the end of the summer.
Okay.
And then...
well, that means you can't try out for it because...
Well, I can. I mean, they're doing... That's a whole
You'd be like an
story.
older sister, right?
Well, no, they're casting a lot of people besides kids.
Okay.
It's not just going to be about kids.
Okay.
It's going to be about the main characters going through the apocalypse on their own. It would kind of be like a pickup of where Carl, got killed, and he was supposed to live through the series, the original TV series. So Carl got killed, and so I think it's going to kind of be picking up on that, like what it's like to be a teen on your own in the apocalypse with no adult.
Yeah, I could, and it's interesting because in the book, Carl's still around.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but there is a heartbreaking moment for Carl that happens, and so it's just you see it cuts him deep, as I would say, and you kind of see a continuation of what ends up happening as a result of the death of Rick.
Yeah.
Which happened in the previous episode, or the previous issue, I mean.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting how while you said the series kind of loosely follows the book,
yeah.
but at the same time, it has kind of gone off in its own separate directions, because here it was, Rick left the series before he left the book, and then in the book, Carl's still around, but in the series, Carl ended up dying in the series. So
there's some speculation about the whole Carl thing with the TV show too, because it's always, from what I've heard, it's always been the plan for Carl to be alive at the end. And there's some rumors about the actor that plays Carl. He wanted to go to college. Mm-hmm. So The Walking Dead kind of made him who he is as an actor.
Yeah.
So there was supposedly some controversy with that he wanted to leave to go to college, or that he wanted them to make accommodations for him to do so. So when Chandler got killed off the show... Not me,
Chandler Riggs, the actor.
That plays Carl. When he got killed off the show, those rumors spread like exponentially, because his dad posted a letter online that was very out of place. No PR person would have ever let him do that, where he claimed that they killed Chandler off the show because he wanted to go to college, and they were mad because they just bought property in Sonoya for him to be on the show through the lifetime of it. And then the other thing too was his dad started the rumor. His dad was the one that started the rumor that the show was going to end in season 10. Because
Wow.
he was saying, oh, this is the last season, blah, blah, blah. And that's not been, that's not fact.
Well, I will say this. Considering what Robert has done, never say never with Robert.
Oh, I know. But I think that was kind of just something that started a lot of rumors. So, like, even when I started working on the show, people were like, oh, isn't this the last season? I'm like, no. You know, that has not been said at all. So it kind of screwed things up a little bit, but you know, they did a good job of like staying the course, and they added a lot of new characters this season on the show that aren't in the comic books that kind of play into the Whisperer storyline. So I think it's going to be interesting because the next big villain in the comic books that we have not seen is the Commonwealth, but we still have Negan storyline as well that's also in the comic book. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to see the Commonwealth on the original show and all these things. They're kind of throwing us off again where we don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, they're just real quick back. Robert actually made a very long letter that he released for fans to see. And he goes into detail as to why he ended the series, why he did certain things he did. And there's actually, based upon what you just said, there's actually kind of what I call a surprise comment at the very, very end of this letter. But you know what? Let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and we'll keep The Walking Dead going.
Keep The Walking Dead alive.
We're going to take a break real quick, let our sponsors have a few moments of your time, and then we'll be back. And welcome back to Geeked Out. This is Chandler. This is Megan, a.k.a. Beauty and the Beast. Yes, come on. It can't be any other way than that. So we're talking about the huge announcement that took place this week that Walking Dead, the comic book series, is done, finished, finito. Issue 193, which came out today, is the last issue. And so there's been a lot of talk. We've been talking about the TV show. We talked about the book, in which, by the way, you know, like I said, I have a copy of the book here, which I know I'm going to get ambushed as I'm walking out the door by someone. Also have a copy of a signed copy of one of the Walking Dead books, which is signed by Robert himself, and also have a piece of original art by Charlie Adler. And so this is, let me see, this is from issue 95, and it's page 14.
So this is actually in the Hilltop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And she's been there.
Yeah.
So.
You can tell because of this, like, the entryway, the banister. And I actually, the interior of the Hilltop building is in a set in the studio.
I can imagine.
So I was sitting on these steps one day waiting, and I was behind me.
And welcome back. We're discussing The Walking Dead, and like I said, you have Chandler, you have Megan here, and big surprise this week. Again, they announced that issue 193, which came in stores today, that's it. It's over with. It's done. We've been talking about the TV show. We're talking about the book. There's a lot going on, a lot of surprises and stuff. Brought a copy of the book from the store, which this is the last copy we had in the store. Megan actually texted me. She goes, I tried calling your store and they said they were sold out. And I'm going, yeah, because I have the last copy. So this is the last copy right here that we had in the store, which I'm sure I'll get ambushed for afterwards. We also brought a copy of, let's see here. This is a Walking Dead #1, which was a recover that they did, and it's signed by Robert Kirkman, graded by CGC. And then we also have over there, we have the compendium, that basically is like issues 1 through I think 20 or something like that. So with those of you that are into reading War and Peace style books, that's what you want to be reading. And there's I think 3 or 4 of those that covers what's been written so far. And then last but not least, we have here an original piece of art, which was drawn by Charlie Adler. It is from issue 95, and it's page 14. And
that's actually in the Hilltop.
Okay, and who would know? She would, because she's been there.
Yeah.
So
the Hilltop, the building is real, but this whole scene, if you watch the original show, is a set.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
So there was one day that I was in a studio, and I sit on the steps, and I look around, and then I'm like, oh, that's where I am. It was just fun.
You recognized it?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you read all of The Walking Dead?
I have not read all the comics, no.
Okay.
I need to get caught up. But I know enough about what's going on just because I do work on the show, and they're very closely related. So when you're on the set, people are constantly talking about the comic book, what's going on in the comic book, speculations about where they're going to go. These are just people, talking about the issues as they come out.
I'm curious, is there ever discussion or almost like argument as to, well, they did it this way in the book, but you're doing it differently in the show? I mean...
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. I mean, like, the people that are Whisperers and Kingdom, Hilltop people, we all are holding together. And then sometimes we're the main cast, but we're mainly with...
Okay, so I'm curious, is there... obviously, with you guys being on the set, and you're getting ready to shoot something, is there talk between cast members and stuff when you guys will say, well, this is how we did it in the book, and this is how it's being done in the show, and sometimes obviously there are going to be times where it's going to be different, sometimes it's not. So what happens? What goes on?
Well, the main cast members don't talk so much about it just because they have, scripts further out. But the Whisperers and the Kingdom people, the Hilltop people, the Walkers, definitely people are constantly talking about it. As the comics come out every week, people talk about what's currently in the comics. We talk about, with us being Whisperers, we talk about the Whisperer storyline, and we kind of jokingly make predictions for what we think will happen with the Whisperer storyline, but of course we have no idea.
Wishful thinkings, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we think is going to happen based on what happens in the comic books. But the show's picked up so many new characters, it's hard to say what's really going to happen. The other cool thing is that every season, The Walking Dead actually gives their wrap gifts at the beginning of the season to the crew. And
I can see that because it's kind of like suddenly someone gets killed,
well, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, someone
But
gets killed and that's it. They're gone.
they do that too so that everybody can wear their gear all season.
Uh-huh.
So the really cool thing with that is
Kind of like what you have on right now?
Well, this is from Sonoya from season 9. So yeah, this is from season 9. This isn't one of the crew ones, but this is one that.
No, but I
is for
mean
season 9.
wearing Walking Dead garb,
Right.
in other words.
Yeah. So the really cool thing about it is that most of the stuff they get, the wrap gifts, which of course wrap gifts are like when you work on a TV show or a movie, they always give the cast and crew T-shirts and hats and jackets and different things that you can not only use while you're wearing on set. Like the originals gave me a raincoat because it rained a lot in Georgia.
Okay.
That said originals on it. But also, like, because you put in so much work, it's like the wrap gifts are like your prize.
Well,
like
it's
really
special
valuable.
stuff
Yeah,
that
it's
only
really
you
special.
guys are getting.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten any wrap gifts for Walking Dead, but the crew wears them, and it's really cool because all the wrap gifts pretty much have comic art on them and the comic font. So it's not even like going with the TV show, because the TV show has a different font and a different logo.
Yeah.
So like they did when the Whispers were introduced last season, they did a Whisper shirt and it was in the font and it had a comic book Whisper on it.
Okay, cool.
So they still keep the comics alive while the show's in production.
Well, and to me that makes sense because you want to embrace the fans of the comic book in order to get them to follow the show.
Started too.
Huh?
And remember where it started too.
Yeah, exactly.
This is where it started.
You talk about the fact that this series started back in 2003.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with Robert. He obviously there was a lot of criticism as to him doing it the way he did it, as far as not letting anyone know that he was going to end it. And in the articles that Robert is quoted in, he talks about how the Walking Dead has always been about surprises. When you're reading the book, you'd turn the page and you wouldn't know what was going to happen. Next thing you know, boom, someone gets killed and you're like, oh my God, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Same thing obviously has happened on the show where, suddenly you guys show up on the set and it's like, oh my God, so-and-so's getting killed, holy moly. Robert basically said he did not want to lose that in the ending of the book. He didn't want to, we're going to end the book in such and such number of issues and this is direct. He's like, forget it. He's going with what's worked for him, and that is, I'm going to keep everyone on their toes and I'm going to surprise the daylights out of them. And needless to say, that in fact happened. There have been things that Robert has done. One of my funnier moments, me being in the convention industry, I've met many of the cast members and had a chance to chat with them. I've met John Bernthal, who plays Shane.
Yeah.
I've met Daryl. Norman Reedus. Met Norman numerous times. And it was funny because I remember I was in Toronto, Canada for a show, and I saw a fan that had a shirt on, and it said, "Robert, if you kill Daryl, we're coming after you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
if Daryl dies, we riot is a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing how much of a cult show this has become. Especially when you look at TV today, and obviously it's something that's it's even when it does come to an end, it's something that's going to be around for a long time, and that's got to be kind of neat for you to know that you're involved in a project that has that type of special feeling and longevity to it.
Well, I've been a fan since the beginning because Kirkman is from Kentucky. And so is Tony Moore that did the original comic book. So everybody in Kentucky knew about it when it was getting ready to air, the show. And a lot of people knew about the comic because these guys are from Kentucky and nothing really happens there like this ever. So Frank Darabont directed season 1, and Darabont's like a legend in Hollywood. So the fact that he was doing a big show like this for AMC, and we had no idea what it was going to be like, that everybody in Kentucky was ready for it. And we started watching it since day one. So when the show, Frank did this first season so well that AMC was like, okay, we have something here. And that's when the fandom started. And Frank actually is the reason that Norman Reedus is on the show, because Daryl's not in the comic book.
Yeah, Daryl doesn't exist in the book at all.
So Norman had auditioned for the part of Merle, which was played by Michael Rooker.
Mm-hmm.
But Frank liked him so much, he made him his own character.
Okay.
So the reason the show was actually taken back from Frank by Kirkman was because some of the things he was having the zombies do, like pick up rocks and climb stairs, that was not in Kirkman's vision, and it was not in the comic books. And so Kirkman took it back when AMC picked it up for season 2 and beyond. And then they really started cracking down and figuring out exactly
They
what
wanted
they
to stay true to
the comics.
Not just the comics, but they wanted to stay true to the characters in the sense of you're talking about these bodies that are able to move, but for the most part, there's no thinking behind the body.
Right.
And so you don't see a zombie reaching and grabbing something, or you see them flailing at something, but you don't see them doing something where it takes muscle memory or muscle recognition to be able to do it, because there is no muscle recognition in the sense the brain is not connected with the rest of the body.
Yeah, they're supposed to be just gone. Like, the whole thing with the show is that the human is supposed to be gone. And people struggle with that when characters have died on the show, especially children. Some characters have gotten killed because their kid, they don't want to come to terms with that. Yeah. And the show's actually teased us as well in several instances, like the governor's daughter, Penny, where they made us think for a second that maybe there was some kind of human still there, but then they proved that, there wasn't. So they still toy with that. They still tease us.
Oh, they know how to
that.
tug at the heart.
Yeah. But the bottom line is that there's not supposed to be any human there. They still throw that in there, but yeah. So.
When you get the script and you read it.
So I don't get scripts because I'm a whisperer.
Oh, okay.
But what happens is I don't get copies of scripts. So normally on a show or a movie, when you're a double or when you have a little, like a feature part is what it's called, or stand-in, you get all the scripts. But for Marvel and for Walking Dead, they don't give out scripts because they don't want anything to be leaked. Mm-hmm. So a normal script is like an 8x10 size, and the main cast gets those for however many episodes out so they can work on it. But for all the other stuff, like day by day, you get what's called a side, which is half an 8x10. And so it's very common for big movies to put somebody's name right across every page of a main script, but Walking Dead goes a step further and they put it on every page of a side script.
Wow.
So the PAs have their name on it. So that way, if one gets in the hand, like the wrong hands,
they know
exactly where it came from.
Wow.
So they don't give us scripts, but what they do, which is pretty cool, when we filmed, our PA would read us the script and what was going to happen for the scene so that we wouldn't just be blindly going in. Because The Walking Dead also is a show where you're not just like an extra. Like, you have to do things. You have to, hurt people or be doing actions. And, like, the show wouldn't be there without zombies and whispers and Hilltop and all that stuff. So we have to know what's going on. So at the beginning of each day we would go film, the PA reads us exactly what's happening.
Do you find yourself when that happens there, do you find yourself still at times going, wow, like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that's going to happen.
When we filmed last season, the season finale, they were extra picky because they didn't want anything to get out about who was going to get killed. And so they didn't tell us exactly what was going to happen, but being there, like, you could kind of tell based on the actors that were there and stuff. So I was still like, wow, you know, like, and then I had to wait like 6 months, you know, until it came out. But yeah, it was pretty, it's pretty, as a fan of the show and the comic and the franchise, it's pretty special to be a part of it.
As a fan, do you have a favorite section of the book or scene, or who's your favorite character?
I mean, honestly, like, I did really like Glenn, and that's why his death was so hard for a lot of fans, because especially in the comic, they made him just this, like, all-American
likable
kid. Yeah, and like, he worked jobs like all of us do. He's a pizza guy, and he was nerdy, just like the comic book readers, and he had never had a girlfriend, and all these things, and so Glenn is like a special character in the sense that we really got to see his whole life. Like, we didn't get to see his parents. They did touch on that in the show. But the rest of the characters, like Carol, we got to see her abuse from her husband a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we got to see the death of her husband and where she's gone from here in the show. But Glenn, you know, we got to see his first romance. We got to see his first date. We got to see, you know, his first wife. We got to see everything. And I think that's why it really hurt the show when he got killed, because in the comics, it was, you know, almost like a landmark thing, the way they killed him off. It was so brutal. But in the show, when they did it, nobody could handle it. And I know we've talked about this before on our show, on Geeked Out, but it was a big deal. And I think it was because we didn't connect with any other character more than him.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember meeting with him in Dragon Con, and it was right after
He got killed.
he got killed. And I'd taken several copies of the book that he get killed in, which is issue 100.
Yeah.
And I took it to him to get signed, and he kind of looks at it and he just kind of grins, and he starts signing them, but then he says, "Where are these books going?" And I said, "Well, you know, they go to some of our customers and stuff." And he says, "I want to do a special message on this." I said, "Well, if that's the case, I'll keep that one. How's that?" He says, "Okay." And he sits there and he basically goes, "Robert, F you." And I'm like, oh my God.
But that's the thing, is that at least with him, he knew that was going to happen to him.
Oh no, I realized that, but it was, you know, it was just one of those things where it was so funny, just the way he did that, because he's signing the stuff and we're just talking about what all had gone on and the whole bit, and then it was kind of like, it was the last one he was going to sign, and he realized, it was like he wanted to have that one last message go out, and so it was funny. It was funny when he did that.
Yeah, because now every photo op Steven does, people are trying to make him be the victim or for him to bash their head in with a baseball bat.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's interesting because you talk about the phenomenon that this show has been. And it has gone in some directions that are unbelievable. But you know what? What we're going to do is we're going to take another break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of these phenomenons, and we're going to wrap this thing up. So do us a favor, check out our sponsors, take a look at them, and as soon as we're done doing that, Megan and I, Beauty and the Beast, we're going to be coming right back. We're going to wrap this up. And we're back from break. Once again, this is Megan, this is Chandler, and we're talking about The Walking Dead and the dead or the death of The Walking Dead, as today it was the last issue hit the stands of newsstands and comic book stores and everything else, caught everyone by surprise. Nothing was announced other than literally within the last 24 to 48 hours, it was announced that this was going to be the last issue. So we've been talking about this, and Megan, we've talked about obviously what's gone on in the show. You've been right there seeing what's going on. We've talked a little bit about the books, but what's been interesting is the phenomenon that has actually come from this. And I don't think anyone really expected this, but ironically, one of the phenomenons that has come from this is from The Walking Dead is it basically ended up getting its own convention, which has which had basically started out in one city, and it was so successful that they then took it to another city, and now there's 4 or 5 or 6 of them a year.
No, there's like 10 or 15.
Oh, is there 10 now? I haven't even looked lately, but yeah, it's like,
it's like a tour.
Yeah, the big one as they put it is the one in Atlanta, which obviously is where The Walking Dead was filmed.
In Atlanta, Halloween weekend was the very first one.
Okay, and I've never been to one because I'm busy doing other
if you're
conventions.
A fan, it's amazing.
But yeah, it's interesting watching how it has just become a huge event. Have you been to one yourself?
Oh, I've been to a lot.
You have?
Yeah.
Have you ever signed at one?
No.
No?
No. Well, so when you work on the show, they don't like people that are walkers or Hilltop or Kingdomers. Anybody that's not a principal actor, they don't like for you to do signings or be in the public eye until a while after you're on the show.
Okay.
And then there's also a thing you have to wait for with the official photo 8x10s that you can sell, like that people can sign and whatever. You have to wait for those to come, and those take a while to get approved. So like there's screenshots from the show you can get if you're like really seen very, very well, and then they have an official set photographer there as well that takes photos.
I was going to say, I know being at some of the comic book conventions that I'm at, we've run across actors who, like you said, they've played walkers and stuff like that. Needless to say, you do have a bunch of the actors who are part of the main cast that have come out. I've been fortunate enough to have been able to meet several of them. Actually one of my favorites is the actress who plays Michonne.
Yeah, Denai.
And Denai, she and I, it was funny because we kind of had a little, kind of like almost like a game going, because she was doing a whole bunch of shows, and obviously I was at conventions with my business and everything with Desert Wind, and we'd end up having customers send books in to want to get signed, so she'd see me at all these. And I remember it was at a show in Arizona one year, and she looks up and she looks at me and she goes, I'm almost getting the feeling that you're following me. I said, no, actually you're my stalker. Because I'm at more shows in the year than you are, and you're following me around. And we just kind of laughed about it and played, and we would see each other periodically and just, hey, how's it going? And so, it's neat when you have the actors like that who are coming out to meet the fans at comic book conventions, and you get to see the real side of them.
Right.
You get to see the real side of them, and it is interesting. Norman Reedus, Norman, it's funny because Norman came from, he had several very successful movies under his belt prior to becoming part of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it was the Boondock Saints.
The Boondock Saints series, and so he was able to basically parlay that into part of what his appearance was at shows, because people would come up all the time with stuff from that.
Yeah, no, that's
signed.
a big cult following.
Yeah.
So the actual Walking Dead conventions are very interesting because pretty much since season 1, the fans for the show have been pretty aggressive. I would almost say a little too much. But it's been fun as a fan because every time you go to a Walking Dead event, people are just so excited to be there and be a part of it and see everything. So the actual Walking Dead conventions themselves have like Dale's RV there that was in the show,
Mhm.
and they have like all kinds of things set up that are from the show. And then since, I do comic, cosplay, horror, and anime conventions mainly, and toy cons, but my favorite has always been horror cons. So when you're at a horror con, it's neat because you get to interact with different people from different movies, but Walking Dead having their own convention, the entire thing is Walking Dead centric. So it's really cool to go because literally every facet of it, everything you get, the parties, everything is Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So you're like,
And you know all about it
it's for
because
like the
you're in the middle
ultimate
of it.
fan and your bags and all the freebies you get and everything. And then when you go to parties too, like of course they have the con parties and a lot of the actors come. And the cool thing is a lot of the actors are multi-talented. So some of them play instruments. Greg Nicotero actually started a band for a party that the show did last year with some of the cast and crew.
Really?
And I think, I can't remember the name of it, but it has, the name of their band ties into The Walking Dead. I think it's called The Rocking Dead or something.
Okay, that would make sense.
It's neat because you get to see all the other things the actors do. And then there's a lot of very talented fans as well. So you get to see all the artwork the fans make. And, from plushies to new comics to the cosplay is just insane. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I've seen, not just people dressed up as walkers, but obviously seen people dressed up as as the characters. What was interesting for me was the fact that I remember one of the first cons that had a Walking Dead actor at it was a show in Arizona, and it was Shane, it was Glenn. I think it was Glenn. I could be wrong, but I know it was Shane. Robert was there, and then there was two more actors that were there, and it was funny because I remember. Sharon and I were at a restaurant afterwards that was right around the corner from the convention center, and we were in there just grabbing a bite to eat. And who comes walking in? John Bernthal.
Yeah.
And he saw us, and he recognized us from the show.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of he acknowledges us, and we acknowledge him, and at that point, I said, "Hey, John, how's the show for you so far?" And it was interesting because once I guess kind of like I broke the ice, he felt a little more comfortable. And at that point, he came over and he chatted with us.
Because the fans are very aggressive, so if they know that you're not one of those fans, then they open up a lot.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we have to, John, is it possible we can get a quick picture? He's like, "Oh yeah, sure." And, jump in and get he got a couple of pictures with him and stuff. But I would have to say the most interesting character for me personally that I saw over the years was watching Chandler Riggs.
Oh, I know.
Because he started out as a little boy.
Yeah. I have a picture of him when he first started the show.
Yeah. And here it is. I saw him at shows, and he was
growing up.
I saw him grow up.
Well, that's the whole
in the
child
con
actor
industry
aspect too.
What's that?
That's the whole child actor aspect too, because you never know, how it's going to go and what they're going to do, and now that he's not on the show, he is doing other acting roles, but he also has been DJing, EDM DJing. So he was at EDC last year.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes by a different name. I don't remember what it.
Well, it was funny because I got to know his dad. I met his mom a couple of times, but his dad was the one who normally traveled with him.
Yeah.
At least when I saw him at shows. And
because he was underage until recently.
Yeah, it was funny because at one point, because my name is Chandler, and his name was Chandler, we would get in a conversation and someone would say Chandler and both of us would go, what?
Yeah.
And so his dad kind of looked at me and he's going, okay, this is going to get confusing. And I looked at Chandler Riggs and I said, you know what? I have an idea. He goes, what's that? And I said, I know how we can distinguish between you and I, at least when we're together. He goes, how's that? And I said, I'm going to call you Mini-Me. His dad just started laughing hysterically.
That's funny.
He just started laughing hysterically because he thought it was so funny that I basically, because he was a young boy, so it was kind of like a mini version of me, as I say, and so he got a big kick out. So every time we saw each other at a show, I'd see him and I'd wave and hey, Mini-Me. Hey Chandler, and just we'd have fun doing that.
Yeah,
but
he was a sweet
it was
little
fun.
boy.
It was fun having that kind of relationship with someone.
Yeah,
and
on the show.
Like I said, after a while you develop a relationship with these guys, and it's different than the actor. Oh my God, look, it's kind of like, hey, how you doing? Good seeing you. See you next week, type of thing.
Yeah, like the actors on the show are very personable and very friendly, and they go out of their way to make a real fan experience for the fans. They do have to be a little guarded, though, because some of the fans are a little too much.
Oh, yeah.
Norman Reedus got bit at a photo op a few years ago.
Oh, my God. I can picture it.
When Eugene, played by Josh McDermott, when Eugene on the show took the side of the Saviors, some of the fans started sending him death threats. So he deleted all the social media.
It's sad when something like that happens because you know what, folks?
They're an actor. It's not
real.
real.
They're an actor. They're playing their character. You don't have to take it personal.
And they're not the ones that wrote that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the fans are very, very, very into it. I know personally I'm a big fan, and it's cool being on both, I'd say all three sides of it, from the hardcore fan aspect and me kind of thinking about what will come in the comics, what will come on the show or the shows, and then being in the convention aspect and working convention aspect, because there's two sides of that too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that attend conventions don't know what goes into it. They don't know what goes on. But I've also been lucky enough to be able to go to conventions and go to private actor parties and meet these people genuinely and be like, this is really cool because I'm such a big fan of the show. And I'm sitting here like, having a drink with...
And it's not just a job. It's
Lori.
Exactly what you said. You are a fan of the show, so it kind of gives a different perspective.
One of the parties I went to, it was so funny because I had walked in, and it was one of the first Walking Dead actor parties I went to. And I walk in, and sitting on a couch, on half of it was Sons of Anarchy actors, and on the other half was Lori, Shane, and Norman. And I was sitting there thinking, because in the show, Lori and Shane have an affair.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sitting here like, this is too funny. You know what I mean? Like, from a fan aspect. But then
Where was Andrew?
He wasn't there. And so Andrew doesn't really go to the parties.
I was going to say, it's funny because we talk about the conventions.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, the only convention that Andrew would actually attend would be the one in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
You would never see Andrew at any of the other conventions. And needless to say, each year San Diego, being the monster that it is, and you would have the Walking Dead panel and everything, and it would never fail because you would, oh my God, I'd get hundreds of requests from people saying, can you get my book signed by the cast? It's like, folks, you don't understand how difficult that is.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of being able to walk up and get it signed. The way it works is you have 5,000 people that's in the panel room, and at the end of the panel, those that want to have a chance at getting something signed, you get in line. So you'd have 5,000 tickets sitting inside of a giant drum, and there's only 100 winning tickets in there.
Yeah.
And if you happen to draw one of those 100 winning tickets, which means you have a 1 in 50 chance, if you happen to draw one of those winning tickets, you get one item signed. So as I would say to customers, I'd say, if I'm going to pay someone to stand in line to get into that panel, which is they're going to be standing there for 24 hours as it is,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to have them sit through the thing, and then have them go through the line, I don't know if it's going to be your book I'm going to get signed.
I
But
wonder if
Andrew
this is-
never participated in any of those signings.
Well, so he's really particular about his autograph.
Mhm.
He only attends the Walking Dead convention in Atlanta around Halloween weekend, and all of his photo ops he does, or there's very small number, and signings are lottery only, and all the money goes to charity. So he's very, very, very particular. But Andrew also, he does go to all the panels at San Diego Comic-Con and New York Comic-Con. But I'm wondering if this year will be the first year that he's not there, because he's not on the next season, as far as we
We'll
know,
have to see.
because he left.
We'll have to see. And obviously that's going to be a mystery that we won't know, just like the mystery behind
Until
other
we-
stuff that goes on with The Walking Dead.
I know.
So, well, we've been sitting here talking dead. I think there's a show called Talking Dead, isn't
There
there?
is,
Okay. As I said, I told Megan, said, talk dead to me. So, but we obviously, again, the big news, the last issue came out,
It's the
but
end
the
of
show
an era.
continues, and there's no reason why the fandom is not going to continue. It's going to continue with the show, and who knows where they're going to go with the show. I mean, like I said, they already have another series that they're coming out with. There's been talk of TV movies that Rick is supposed to be in.
Yeah.
And so I don't see this stopping anytime soon. The Walking Dead train is going to continue chugging right on down the tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They did announce Michonne's leaving the main series because, of course, she's going to go film the next Black Panther
Yeah.
and other acting jobs. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I want to see if they're going to bring in the Commonwealth. And, I mean, they could bring in the Commonwealth on Fear the Walking Dead now that they're doing the crossover and they're hinting at Rick's going to show up on Fear the Walking Dead.
Okay.
So I wonder if they're going to continue with the storylines they didn't finish in the comic book on one of the shows. And I feel like that, like I said earlier, that's what they're doing with the series, the third series that they're going to film in Virginia. They're going to pick up kind of the whole teen thing that we lost with Carl.
Well,
So I'm really, really excited to see what happens.
we'll have to wait and see.
So yeah, so right now they're airing Fear, and then they're filming season 10, which airs in October, and then they're casting the third series. So that's kind of it for Walking Dead right now.
Which is still plenty for the fans to
Oh yeah, bite on, yeah.
to chew on. Yes.
Now I have to get caught up with Fear because all this has happened in the last few weeks, and I'm like, I gotta know, because it's always been a separate show,
Yeah.
and now it's not. It's like and I think they did that on purpose too, because obviously the original show's always been more popular than Fear the Walking Dead, but now the fans have to watch both, so we know what's going on.
Yep. I agree. And then you're going to have the third one coming out, and pretty soon AMC is going to be nothing but Walking Dead shows.
Well, they air it. It's good though because they air them not at the same time, so that Walking Dead fans have something to chew on when the main series is not in season.
Yeah. So you have, like you said, the season 10 of the main series starts in October, where you have Fear the Walking Dead going on now.
Yeah.
So what you have is you have the summertime show, and then you have what's going to be the main show during the winter time, and then that we'll see what happens come next spring. That very well could end up being that third show that we were just talking about.
I think they won't film it for a little while, so it'll probably be another next fall before the next show.
Could be.
Yeah.
But I think we've pretty much
It's been
killed
sad.
everything about The Walking Dead at this point.
My whole house is decorating Walking Dead, so today the announcement made me sad. Because it's like the end of an era. For me, Walking Dead was always a big deal, like I said, because of the Kentucky thing. But also, like, for me, trying to do something outside of Kentucky and do something bigger than being in a small town, Kirkman did that. He came from a town smaller than I'm from in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he loved comics, he loved writing, and he made one. and he really pursued it, and look what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with other Robert projects. You know, he has Die 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 that's out there right now.
Preacher.
There was even talk about, you know, what's going to happen with that book. You know, I'm sure Robert's going to, you know, he's going to be obviously involved with the Walking Dead projects for years to come. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we pretty much chewed this up as much as we could.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do some really bad puns on words.
I feel like somebody died. I feel sad.
Well, to a certain degree, they did.
I know.
To a certain degree,
they all did.
The dead is dead.
They all did, but you have to read Kirkman's letter, like Chandler said, to see what.
It's actually the letter is actually at the very back of the issue. So.
There's a little kick to the fans there.
And yeah, there's I will simply say this, that there is a statement that Robert makes at the very end of the letter that I think is going to pique everyone's interest. And not to spoil it for anyone right now, but what we'll do is, how about this? In a month from now, we'll come back and we will tell people what that was. How's that sound to you? It gives you a month to get this copy, to get this, or go online and find out.
Or we could make it a few months when the new season.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Come October, when this new season's supposed to start, we'll kind of do a little kickoff of it,
and then we'll have something to talk
and we'll
about.
expose it, and we might have more news. You never know. You never know. So, okay, this is Geeked Out. I'm Chandler. You have the beautiful Megan here. Again, Beauty and the Beast. We thank you for joining us, and we're going to be getting ready to head off to San Diego. What do you have coming up?
Just working
Just
on a
working?
lot of stuff. Yeah, I've been going to auditions and just working as much as possible because I have some things coming up that I need to be able to go to. Okay.
And next time we will be back here with Quincy, and I'm sure Free will be back. And make sure that you keep an eye out because we plan on doing a bunch of stuff in San Diego. So you're going to see footage coming in from San Diego. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll have some interviews going on. Just make sure you go to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay on top of everything that's going on with Geeked Out, and we can keep you informed. So thank you very much for joining us. Megan, thank you.
Bye, guys.
We'll see you guys. Take it easy. Take care.
Geeked Out right here on Deftal Radio. If you want to get more content from us, better make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't know what you're missing.